What's it been like for the Dogs these first 10 days of camp at Georgia? We're almost a weekend to Georgia's fall camp. This is the time where things are really moving fast. You've got a lot of guys who are making moves, trying to make moves. You got guys like Carson Beck trying to get, quote, locked in. It's a fast moving moment. School starts at Georgia soon. And so you're going to see these last few days of fall camp really ramp up in their importance. And then you get into the scrimmages. Then you get into locked in for Clemson with 2 weeks to go before that game. And then you have game week, and then you have the season. It's here. And the season goes by fast. That's the big thing. But what is it like at a Georgia practice? So I've seen more than my fair share of these through the decades. And it's high paced. It's extremely fast. It's hard to ignore Kirby's voice on the microphone at all times. There's no one that is that can avoid his coaching criticism, whatever you want to call it, critique, including the coaches, including managers. You know, the thing about practice at Georgia is the times that we get to see it is very spread out. So this has been the case for all football for the time I've always watched it, played it, whatever. When you go into your position groups, everybody's spread around the field, and what you see with Kirby is the setup at Georgia. There is a huge this is a huge practice facility, and I'm going to try to show you on the screen how it's laid out, because the biggest thing about Georgia is they have a lot of space. They have a lot of space. Here it is on the screen. And what happens, I'm going to zone in a little bit quicker. These on the screen here, you see track right there, all right? The players are walking in from usually the indoor facility, or back in the day they used to come in from the old locker room at Butts-Mehre. But all of that's now in the indoor practice facility. And these two practice fields, the Woodruff practice fields, they have a giant wall around them. A giant is probably the wrong way to put it. They have a wall around them. You can't just look at the wall. You cannot look over the wall. And this is the area right here where the defensive line works, in this little area here. And right in here is where the offensive line is. And I would venture to say that the time that we're out there, Kirby Smart usually does not go a lot past this 30-yard marker here on the left-hand side. And he usually doesn't go much past this 30-yard marker on the right-hand side. And in this time, you can hear him. There is a microphone right up here. Well, I don't know where the mics are actually, the speakers, I should say. This tower, which I think you're looking at the shadow of the tower there that's in black. The tower is actually the white thing here. This is like Kirby Smart's power area. What I mean by that is he's in this area a lot. He's talking. He's coaching. This is where the outside linebackers and defensive line work a lot. You'll notice there's dashes along the side. That's where people who are watching practice, they're not supposed to go past that line. This is this area here, this little building beside track. That's where a lot of times people who want to completely be out of the sun are out of it. But when you come down here, those are vans. You can't make those out very well. You can drive right through there. You can also drive in over here, by the way, this area. But this is an area where Georgia, like when it gets too hot, when there's lightning, whatever, they just spill right into the indoor practice facility, and they just take it from there. But what it's like is it's fast. That's what it's like at Georgia. And the other thing here is, Vince Dooley, this is the Catholic Center. This circular building right there. So Vince was Catholic, unless I'm wrong, which I'm pretty sure I'm not. And I remember as a child, we ran on the Spec Towns track quite a bit, and you know, you could see Vince. I saw Vince. If people are around this area a lot, and I don't know why I got sidetracked on the Catholic Center, other than that's a place to park. It's not maybe the best place, but all these trees, they will over time grow up. This tree right here has been there forever. But I mean, I've known people like they have people in the trees, or they have in the past. I don't know if that was Kirby's group or not or what, but like making sure people aren't watching practice, because you could watch practice here in theory. It'd be hard, but you could in theory watch practice. I don't know where, but you can hear practice. That's for sure. And when you would hear it, there's a lot of movement. There's a lot of expectation. There's a lot of pace and screaming and yelling, which is, if you've ever competed in sports in college, that's not new. So I just think that you see the teams split up, and when they're individual drills, which is called indie, that's what they call it. There's a lot of position coaches working on things. Then there's special teams work, of course. One reason why I put everything on the screen is Butts-Mehre has changed so much over the years. Where the indoor practice facility is, and even beside it, all of that was grass at one point in time. And, Georgia's gone back and forth with turf and grass at the bottom. I get confused with what they've got half the time, but it's all turf now, if I'm not mistaken. So if I'm not mistaken, they have one grass field that they practice on, which is Sanford Stadium, when they go practice there, and they have to take care of it and so forth. I remember back in the day, when the running backs would practice at Butts-Mehre, the turf would get chewed up, so they would rotate where they would do their drills so that the turf wouldn't get so eaten up. And of course, they've had to in the past adjust which one was turf. Like in the back of the day, they had the old Georgia Dome turf, like the Astro turf, not field turf like they have now. And then they went to grass. I mean, I'm getting off the point here, but it's always very curious to see practice. The thing that the players, there's no decals on helmets. Silver breeches or silver, that's about the only way that you can tell Georgia's practicing, because having gone to other practices at Clemson or South Carolina or wherever, it doesn't look like the teams. They're just in practice stuff. They have numbers, but there's usually, at Georgia, there's no logos on the helmet during the preseason. Now, as the season goes on, there's fewer and fewer practice availabilities. But when you're watching practice, you can't. You're going to have to take their word for it. That's Georgia if you're just looking at the players. The coaches all have stuff that says Georgia on it, but it's fast-paced. There can be you guys getting in scuffles or whatever. That happens. That doesn't happen a lot. That happens, though. And then you'll see, when they break into team stuff, so ones versus twos or ones versus ones or ones versus scout team or three, that's a slower pace. But it's higher intensity is what I would say. Well, I don't know if it's higher intensity. It's more concentrated. Everybody's watching one or two spots. The advantage of having two fields like this is you can get a lot of rotations in. Like if your ones are going against your ones, you can practice on this right-hand field. I always call it right-hand field because for years we walked down through the track and the indoor facility. We walked down between those spaces, so that was to the right. Now when we walk in, everything's to the right. So it's kind of it'll be, in this case, the first field. It's also, Georgia's changed the way that they store things and all this stuff. You have to remember, in the 70s and 80s even, the Steckman Coliseum was the athletic department. There was no Butts-Mehre until 1984. So all of these things have changed over time. The one curious thing, and different places do it a different way. Like South Carolina, they practice literally right next to Williams-Brice Stadium. Clemson, they're like further removed. And some places have changed where they practice. But for Georgia, if you notice I'm going to put it on the screen because this is a very curious thing. The two things that are tied together, you can't see it on the screen, or maybe you can. All you have to do to go from Georgia's practice field to Sanford Stadium is get on Sanford Drive and walk, and you will wind up at the stadium. And Sanford Drive ends right there on Baldwin. I know that area of Georgia's campus extremely well. So Georgia's practice fields are connected to its stadium by a walk. Now, they don't walk, obviously. They take buses. But I have, I don't know how many times I've been at Butts. A lot. And each practice is sometimes they meld together. Kirby's practices are very intense, no question about it. And that's probably the biggest thing you notice is what happens when you watch practice. A lot of energy. Thanks for watching.